The problem with that, well, the best part of it is that it keeps you safe, right? I think we can all agree because we're all live listening to this right now. Thank you, brain. Take a moment. Let's thank our brains. I thank my brain every single time. Thank you, brain. It's been a motherfucker getting me here. I appreciate you. I know we got more work to do, but thank you, guys. Be grateful for your brain, please. I know it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it's got you to where you are today. So a little love for you. Um, and so the downside of this is that when your brain starts to recognize the stimulus that says, I am unsafe, well, it removes it from the possibility of you doing it because ultimately survival is the most important thing. So if the brain equates your behaviors, your identities, the way that you speak, the way that you act, the way that you talk, the way that you behave, the way that you make mistakes or learn are things that are negative, the brain will tell you that is unsafe. Don't do that. Think about this for a second. Maybe just briefly go through the Rolodex of memories in your head in which you were faced with this moment that you learned it's unsafe to be you. Think about what happened. I remember one very specifically when I was, I don't know, probably 10 or 11. I was reading the newspaper. And in the newspaper, there was horoscopes, right? And I didn't really know or understand what that was, but there were all of the titles associated with each month of what you are. Like, so I was born in October, I'm Libra, right? You're a Taurus, Aquarius, whatever. So I'm going through, I'm reading the horoscopes, and I'm trying to go through it. And my baby brother, my youngest brother, he was born in March. And so that's obviously, I don't say obviously Pisces, but it's Pisces. And so as I'm reading the newspaper, I actually say theses because that's what it looked like in the phonetics. I was like, oh, that's PHS, right? So I'm going through it, I'm sounding it out. I say this, and my stepdad freaks out on me, right? I don't even know what the word feces means at this point in my life, right? Nor the word Pisces. Actually, I still don't know the word Pisces. Yeah, I don't know what Pisces means. No judgment, no shame. And so I'm going through this, reading this, and in that moment, he just smacked me in the face so incredibly hard, and I didn't understand why. Like, why would that happen? Why would I have to experience this physical pain as I'm trying to learn and develop something? Okay, so let's look at this causation and correlation, right? I'm laying out my story because I'm hoping that in this you will have a better understanding of those experiences in your own life that have led you to a place that involved me. So when you look at and you understand that in this situation, your brain evaluates this experience and it says, all right, when I try to do something like read aloud, sounding out words that I do not understand so that I can understand them, there's pain and embarrassment. Thus, what will happen is that you will no longer want to do that. And I can track this. I wish as a child I would have had someone teach me what I'm about to say because it would have been really incredible to learn. So I had been going through elementary school and doing spelling bees every Friday and winning all the time. Like, probably so often that the other kids resented me, which I actually believe is true, which is understandable, right? When you're a kid, you don't know better. You're trying to figure this out, and this one person keeps winning these freaking spelling bees. And then this moment happens with trying to sound out Pisces. And immediately after, I stopped entering, like it was like probably this next upcoming week. I stopped doing the spelling bees. And my teacher, I remember, her name was Miss Thompson. She came up to me and she's like, why don't you enter the spelling bees? you're doing such a good job, you need to be in them. And I just said, as most children do in that situation, I go, and she's trying to push me back into it. She's like, you're doing such a good job. You're winning. You're getting all these gold stickers on the chart. And if you guys remember the Pizza Hut personal pan pizzas that came in the little brown boxes as a kid, that were unbelievably delicious and simultaneously bad for you, were like, for me, like one of my favorite things. Like, I could not wait. I literally wanted to win for food. Now, there's a lot of context behind that. Growing up in poverty, I won't get into the details of that. You guys have heard that story. But she's trying to get me to come back and do these spelling bees. I keep telling her no, I don't want to do this. And finally, she says to me, "You don't have to do this. You're not forced to do this, but you should do this." I didn't understand what she was saying. I'm like 11 years old. I have no idea. So I no longer continue to do them that part of the year. And I realized at some point, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago in therapy, I'm sharing this story with the therapist, then he goes, you realize, like, you stop wanting to do uncomfortable things in public because of the abuse that you suffered around that moment. And I was like, shit, you're spot on. I no longer wanted to do anything publicly. And when I measure a lot of the experiences of my youth, of my school years, of my early 20s, it was like I did not want to be the center of attention in any capacity. And I realized that is such a direct correlation in that moment of being embarrassed, of being like, it's not okay, it's painful, and it's hurtful for me to be wrong. Your brain adds that up. Think about this. If your brain is taking those experiences, it's looking at what has happened in your life, it's measuring them and trying to understand and make meaning of those experiences, to categorize them in a way that helps you be safe and navigate the world, then it's going to look at an experience like that and tell you, actually, you shouldn't do this anymore. And this is a thing I was good at, right? I was good at spelling bees, I was good at spelling, I was good in my English class or whatever. And because of this interaction with my stepfather, because of the physical pain of that moment, what happened is my brain evaluated it. I said, you cannot do this anymore. And so I shut down for a very, very long time in this thing that I really enjoyed. Like, that brought me joy. That was a part of my personality. As a kid, I was competitive. As many of you know, I'm competitive as an adult. But there was this huge gap where my competitiveness had got put to the side, where my identity started getting stripped away even more about competitive things or public things, or trying to figure out how to navigate something I didn't understand. This is why you see so many people who, when they are at the apex or the precipice of doing something unknown, they quit. Because the association is, doing this thing that I am not proficient at will cause me to be embarrassed. Thus, in light of trying not to be embarrassed, because I equate that at some point in the journey of my life as pain, suffering, possibly experience near death, right? The brain says, don't do this thing subconsciously. And because that is the tie that we have to it, when you're faced with, all right, I want to step into the unknown, we get stuck. Like, that's where stuckness comes from, right? Stuckness comes from the unwillingness to step into the difficulty of the unknown, but it's reasonable that you would be that way if the precedent that was set for stepping into the unknown was pain, and the brain's only purpose is survival. I hope you guys are following this. I hope that you are seeing this track laid out, right? Now, let's fast forward today, where we are. You're watching me live or if you're listening on the podcast, which thank you very much. If you're watching or listening, you're noticing that I'm doing something uncomfortable and unknown to me. I'm talking about these experiences. I'm live in front of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, which thank you so much. You guys are freaking amazing, are going to listen to this. And yet, I still have this experience of the past that had informed me of the potential of making a mistake could equal pain. So how does that take you from where you were? Let me rephrase that. So how does healing take you from where you were in the experiences of your childhood to where you are today in this real life experience? The truth is, you have to be willing to do two things. And this is my opinion. I think you have to be willing to do two things. One, you have to be willing to no longer justify who you are to people, to anyone. As long as you're operating in alignment with who you are, your moral character, your wants, needs, and interests, and your values. And if that holds true, and I honestly think across the board, you do not have to justify yourself. The other, probably more important, I should have started here, is recognizing that the way that you step through changing and understanding the truth that the brain is incredibly malleable. The brain is incredibly plastic. And what that means is that you have the ability to change your own thoughts. And I'm going to rewind this. I want that to be number one. I should have said that first, so I apologize. You, just through your thoughts alone, can change your brain forever. And when you start to associate the experiences that you're having right now about who you are and who you are working to become in positive ways, your brain starts to physically change. You can watch this on MRI scans. Dr. Carolyn Leaf, who I'm very, very excited about coming on Being Unbroken, talks about this in depth. And this incredible measurement for looking at life through this ability to simply be positive and watch the brain change.